Hi, and welcome to One-Step Equations, and we are looking at multiplying and dividing today. So, quick reminder that when we have a number, or this is called a coefficient, that's a number that is in front of a variable. When we have a number and a variable next to each other, what operation does that mean is going on? Well, it means that they are being multiplied. Whatever x is being multiplied by -12 to get 36. So how do I undo multiplication? Well, I'm going to use the opposite operation. I undo multiplication with division. So if it's being multiplied by -12, that means that I need to divide by -12. -12 divided by -12, well, that equals 1. And I'm left with x on this side. And on this side of the equation, 36 divided by -12 is equal to -3. Now, if I want to check this, I can check and say, is -12 times -3 equal to a positive 36? All right, well, I'm first going to check my signs. I see that I have a negative times a negative, and I know that if I have an even number of negative numbers, when I'm multiplying or dividing, that means my answer is positive. So the sign checks out. 12 times 3, 3 times 2 is 6, 3 times 1 is 3. So yes, this equals 36. 36 equals 36. Note that I showed my algebra work here. I didn't just jump to showing the check. Please, 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 even if you can do these in your head, make sure you are showing the algebra work, because we're going to get to much more complicated problems which are not as easy to do. So I know you can do this in your head, but we need to get in the practice of showing the algebra work so that we are prepared for the more complicated problems that are coming. Okay, so let's take a look at x divided by 10 equals 20. Now, you're probably looking at this and going, oh, yes, x equals 2. That's easy. Why'd she even bother putting it on there? Well, let's take a look at it again. This is division. We know that fractions mean division. So whatever x is, it's being divided by 10, and that gives you 20. So what is the opposite of division? Well, the opposite of division is multiplication. So instead of dividing by 10, I'm going to multiply by 10. Oh, well, 20 times 10 is definitely not 2. So don't forget there's this invisible 1 here, and this is really 10 over 1, which gives me 10 over 10, which is the same as 1 whole. Okay, so that's how these are going to cancel out. So I get x equals 20 times 10, which is 200, not 2. Well, let's check our work. Is 200 divided by 10, is that equal to 20? Well, I can cancel my zeros here. Those are going to cancel out, which leaves me with 20 over 1. So yeah, 20 does equals 20. And it does work. All right, let's take a look at our next one. We have negative 10x divided by 2. Now, I'm going to, this is multiplication is going on. I have a number and a variable next to each other. Multiplication is going on, so that means I'm going to divide. So I divide by 10, or negative 10, I divide by negative 10. Now your first instinct is to say that the answer to this is negative 5, but it's not negative 5. I'm doing 2 divided by 10, not 10 divided by 2. So this is going to give me x equals negative 2 tenths. All right, are there some other ways I can write negative 2 tenths? There sure are. This can simplify. If I divide by 2 and divide by 2, I can get negative 1/5. Or I can write 2 tenths, negative 2 tenths as a decimal, and that's negative decimal point 2. And you can have your 0 in front if you want that. All right, well, now I need to check to make sure that that's right, because this does not look like an answer that we've seen yet. Usually we get nice, pretty whole numbers. Well, that's not always going to happen. So we need to check to make sure that we are correct. So I'm going to say negative 10. Now I can choose any of these that I want to plug in for x. Do I want to write it as negative 2/10, negative 1/5, or negative 0.2. I think that I'm going to do negative 1/5. I think that's how, no, you know what? Yeah, negative 1/5. So times negative 1 over 5, and we're looking to see, does that equal 2? Well, this gives me a positive because I have a negative times a negative. I get positive 10 over 5, and 10 divided by 5 is 2. So yes, this does work. My answer is x equals negative 2/10 or negative 1/5 or negative 0.2. All right, so let's move on. On the back, we are looking at 2/5 x equals 16. All right, so we know that this means that we're multiplying, right? We have a number, in this case a fraction, times a variable. So that means we're multiplying. So that means, what do we need to do? We need to divide. But how do we divide fractions? Who remembers how we divide fractions? Well, to divide fractions, we are going to keep, change, flip. So basically what's going to happen is we are going to multiply both sides by the flip. So I'm going to multiply by 5 over 2 times 5 over 2. Okay? This gives me 10 over 10, and so all of that cancels out, and I'm left with x. All right, so 16 times 5 gives me 80 over 2, which is going to simplify. I'm going to divide by 2, and I get 40. So x equals 40. Well, this was a messy problem. I need to see if my answer is correct. So I'm going to do 2 over 5 times 40, and I'm looking to see, does that equal 16? I don't know if that's going to equal 16. That doesn't look right. But let's see. So 2 times 40 is 80. So I have 80 over 5. And does that equal 16? Well, 5 goes into 8 one time with 3 remaining. 5 into 30 is 6. So yes, it does equal 16. That one does work. Next one. So here the fraction is written a little bit differently. It's written as 2x over 3. If you don't like the problem being written this way, you can rewrite it as 36 equals 2/3 x. And then it has the same structure as this problem up here. We're not going to solve the problem any differently than we did over here. We're going to multiply both sides by the flip. 3 over 2. And those are going to cancel out. 2 times 3 is 6. 3 times 2 is 6. I have 6 over 6. So those cancel out. Notice that in this problem, the variable's on the other side. That's okay. That's not a problem at all. To have the variable on the other side. It's not going to change. It doesn't change how I solve the problem. So now I have 3 over 2 times 36. That gives me 108 over 2. I'm going to divide by 2, and that is going to give me x equals, should be 54. All right, well, I need to see if that's correct. So I need to see if, so here's my check, is 36 equal to 2 times 54 divided by 3? Well, 2 times 54 is going to give me 108. So now I have 36 equals 108 over 3. And let's see, 3 goes into 10 3 times with 1 remaining. 3 goes into 18 6 times. So yes, it does work. All right, we have 2 more problems to take a look at. This one's a little different. Now we have a fraction as kind of our answer side, okay? Again, I can rewrite this to say 1/12 x if I like that a little bit better. That is an option that I have. I can write my invisible 1 in front of the x if I would like as well. Okay, so I'm going to say, I think I want to rewrite this one today. So 3/4 equals negative 1/12 x. So now I think I'm going to, now I'm going to multiply by my reciprocal, or my inverse. So I'm going to multiply both sides by negative 12 over 1 times negative 12 over 1. All right, when I do that, these are going to cancel out. And I get x equals negative 36 over 4. Negative 36 divided by 4, I get x equals negative 9. All right, well, I need to check that. And I think I'm going to check it in a little different way here. So let's see, negative 9 over negative 12. If I simplify, so because really what I have here is I have two fractions, and I'm seeing if this one's going to simplify to be that. So negative 9 over negative 12, if I divide both of them by negative 3, I get negative 9 divided by negative 3 is positive 3. Negative 12 divided by 3 is, or excuse me, negative 3 is positive 4. So yes, this does check out. Finally, our last problem, I'm going to divide by negative 15. Why negative 15? Because that's the number that is attached to the variable. Remember, our goal is always to get the variable by itself, so we need to get rid of all the stuff that is on the same side as the variable. So I'm going to divide by negative 15, divide by negative 15. Negative 15 divided by negative 15 is 1, and I get x equals negative 45 divided by negative 15 is going to be positive 3. So now I need to check my work and see, is negative 45 equal to negative 15 times 3? So 3 times 5 is 15, carry my 1. 3 times 3 is, 3 times 1 is 3, plus 1 is 4. So that's going to be negative 45 is equal to negative 45. So that does work. Okay, do you have questions? That's okay if you do. Go ahead and write them on the side, in the margin somewhere. Write any questions that you have. Did I go too fast? Do you need to hear an explanation again? Go ahead, pause, rewind, and listen to an explanation again.